It depends on how what you mean by truth. For me, it's very
Yeah.
simple. I mean, the truth is what the facts are.
Yeah.
And other people are talking about maybe philosophical truths, which are not necessarily what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about that. Yeah, what the facts are. And so basically, you look at the differentiation between the facts and what's actually written in the text, and that differentiation you can use to detect where the understandings and conceptualizations of the message may change and may be different, and why they were different. And then it's through that difference and through those flaws and mistakes, but also through the commonalities, you can understand how it can be translated differently, and just more about kind of just understanding essentially how humans can communicate and how we can operate in the world to maximize our own value. So I think that I don't know. I think that you can take it from that perspective, and you would see truth. And honestly, the truth would have to align with the natural world as well.
Did anybody want to add to that?
So yeah. So Rise. So what about getting back to evolution? Could you possibly explain what your case would be of why it might not be the case? Rise. Maybe I should. So yeah, so Aron, what do you think about people like correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't William Lane Craig, does he have the position that God of the Bible made evolution happen? Is that his position?
I'm not certain about that. I haven't studied a lot of William Lane Craig. He lost me when he said that in his book Reasonable Faith, which is an oxymoron, he said that when the people reject belief in Jesus, that it was not because of any understanding of scientific information. It was because something along the lines of we just want to sin. And so that's just a flat out lie. It's not just that's not true of everybody. That's not true of anybody. That's never been true for a single person.
I haven't read any of his stuff. I'm not sure exactly what position he takes. I guess, like I was saying, is like if you take truth to be what is defined as God, and then you're trying to understand, like you use the Bible as a context for that, then what the truth is would be would be you not acting with sin. And if you're not following the truth and you're acting in a way that is not a net negative, if you're acting in a way that's going to be a net positive, it would be, you wouldn't be sinning. If you act in a way that's a net negative, it would be sinning. You can't necessarily conceptualize every action in your life what the outcomes are going to be, because you don't know the future, but you can try and gather knowledge and position yourself within the world to maximize your potential. And so I guess what I would say is that, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what he meant by that with the sin thing, but and I would say that people would technically, the idea of Jesus being man and God, the concept that Jesus is truth, if you're living your life relative to your own perspective in a way that maximizes your value, you would inherently know Jesus in that context. And you would be following Jesus. It's not, I don't necessarily think you can infer definitively from the Bible that you have to, like the words of the Bible and the literal story of the Bible is necessary to believe in literally in order to get to heaven. I don't think you can necessarily infer that. So, I mean, I'm not sure. I know that doesn't quite address your question. I'm not sure exactly what his position was that you were disputing, though, because I'm not familiar.
So,
did I mispronounce your name when I said Aron? Is it Aron?
It's pronounced Aron.
Okay, so do you want to finish what you were saying, Rise?
Me? So I was just asking. I'm not familiar with William Lane Craig and his argument there, but like I just kind of, that's how I would perceive sin, and that concept in terms of God and Jesus and of what it means to sin and not sin, and what we can prove definitively from the Bible.
Yeah, my problem is going to be very different than
Yeah.
William Lane Craig's issue with this. I mean, I have an issue with not just Christianity, but like all of Abrahamic religion,
Yeah.
and generally religion just as it is, when they, and specifically Abrahamic religion, when they want to punish disbelief,
Yeah.
and morality ends up being irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how evil you are. Every sin can be forgiven if you but believe, but you have to believe, because if you don't believe, then it doesn't matter how good you are.
Yeah.
Because the only sin that will not be forgiven is the sin of disbelief. So gullibility then becomes the only criteria for redemption.
Yeah, and I think that's how a lot of religions interpret it. And you look at a lot of interpretations of Christianity that take it that way. And I think the issue is what constitutes belief. Is belief having an actual understanding of what truth is and acting in a way that aligns with it, an actual understanding of the inherent concept of Jesus and the inherent concept of truth and how you should behave and acting in that way relative to you. And is that actual belief? Because if you inherently know and act on something, isn't that better than just verbalizing something or just using your rational mind, which honestly religious people say it's not even your rational mind, it's your faith that matters. So if your faith is what matters, then it would be an inherent knowledge of truth that would be an actual belief in Jesus and God, and be a belief in, so I would say that yes, I understand what you're saying, and I think that it's important that you don't delineate as a human what people should literally interpret and believe, which, as we know, the world is always changing, so you can't really stagnate or create the structure around religion. And it seems to me that that's just a hubris of human nature that consistently you see in the Bible to be criticized, but then yet they do it again and again. And so I think any sort of hierarchy or directive that's instituted by humans is directly contradictory.
I think I understood what you were saying, though.